It's time to talk life, leadership, the NFL, and some other sports too, with Lou Diamond and Evan Money here on Diamond Cuts Money Talks.
Welcome, everyone. I am Lou Diamond.
And I'm Evan Money!
And this is Diamond Cuts Money Talks, the show that covers life, leadership, the NFL, and other sports too. I'm excited to be back with Evan. This is our we're getting into a routine here, and we're having fun, aren't we, Evan?
Absolutely, and routines is where it's at, especially in this time and age. So how can we do something semi-normal?
So in the theory, the way our show is going to work today is we got the 3 T's for you. We're going to have some trivia to kick off the show. Evan's got something for us all. Timely topics and timeless topics. That's going to be our theme and layout for this program here on DCMT. So I eagerly await, Evan. You said you had some kind of trivia to kick off the show.
It's not just trivia, Lou. It's Chargers trivia.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes. And I think you have one of the greatest fan stories of all time, Mr. New York, being the Chargers fan, and just listen to one of our previous shows to get that full story. But I dug this one out just for you.
Okay.
And there's a caveat as well, Lou, for this trivia question.
Yes.
Because I think one of the trends we're going to have to do is figure out a way to bring up Jerry Jones in every show.
Usually he's good enough for his own PR. Do we have to help him anymore?
No, I'm seeing this theme, so I'm like, okay, where can I get some trivia and Chargers trivia and Jerry Jones? That's pretty tough.
Oh my goodness!
Okay.
All right, I'm all ears. Let's go. Let's see how we do.
I may have given it away, but pre-merger, dun dun dun, there was a ownership group that was ready to buy the Chargers pre-merger. Do you know who was the leader of that group?
Well, I mean, did you bump set and spike this away? I mean, was Jerry Jones part of an ownership group that was going to buy the Chargers?
Jerry Jones was one signature away from buying the Chargers pre-merger.
Wow.
And he called his dad for advice, and his dad talked him out of it. And
wow.
Said, son, stop messing around with this Bush League. Focus on real business, oil, i.e., right? So, because Jerry had a heart for football, so he almost bought the Chargers, and then of course he didn't. And it was here's the price as I recall, it was like $400,000.
So this was the merger. So we're talking 1969, 70-ish, around there.
No, 70. Before that. I think it was like 60. Yeah, because the merger was 60. Yeah, I don't know, because they were doing the Super Bowl before the merger, but yeah, so we're in the 60s somewhere. So he had a chance to buy it, and the next year they merged and the value like doubled or tripled. And Jerry was always kicking himself. Like, man, I could have, should have, would about the Chargers. Why didn't I pull the trigger? Da, da, da. So can you imagine a younger Jerry Jones running the Chargers? How long would they have stayed in San Diego? I want to get your Chargers opinion. What do you think would become of the Chargers?
By the way, great question. Did not know that. I hope maybe some of our listeners did. And I would say, I know that many owners of professional sports teams have tried to get in at different angles, and you hear all these stories of them trying to get in. A lot of baseball owners, basketball is one of the most common ones you hear. These are like ways that they can try to get in, because the creme de la creme is owning an NFL franchise just because of the value of owning one.
Yes.
That being said, if he had own the Chargers, well, let's get something really clear here. This is one of the better marketing guys out there. Remember his rebellious thing to get Pepsi when the whole league had Coca-Cola?
Oh yeah, yep.
He got the biggest stadium. Now let's say he definitely, by waiting around, he ended up with the better franchise. No shot against my Chargers, like that would have been the right call. I mean, if you're going to get anything in football. If you had told me, I guess, Packers, Steelers, Cowboys, maybe Niners in that realm, and I would say that would be the top of the top. And by the way, I didn't even say Patriots in that mix. That's just me because I'm going by over the years. So I would have to say that they would have moved to LA. What really would have been interesting is that vacancy in LA probably would have been filled much faster
Oh yeah, Jerry. I would have.
That is where I would have seen it go. The minute that Oakland went, the Raiders went back to Oakland, and you had the Rams were obviously in St. Louis for many more years before that. So there was that vacancy in Los Angeles. If he was in San Diego, he would have figured out ways to get to LA and be the only team in LA.
Yep. It would have been.
I think this is unanswerable questions. Yet I will tell you, they still wouldn't have ended up staying in San Diego. That's for sure. Which is a bummer. But hey, at least Southern California is still there, and they're still in LA, so that works out well.
There you go.
Great question. Good stuff.
Yeah, pull digging deep for you, Lou.
I'm appreciative, Mr. Money. I am. So timely topics. It is March 30th. We're recording this. And at least since at the time of airing of this, free agency in the NFL is quite interesting. And it's hovering in this very unique space. And we've talked about it on the last couple of shows and brought it up, but we're going to address it a little bit more deeply today. I want to talk about Cam Newton, possible free agency landings, where he ends up. And listeners, what Evan and I decided before the show is that each of us was going to give our top 3 teams and the reasons why we think that's where he would be a good fit. So Ev, who wants to go first? You want to go first?
I got to go first because I've got the spot that no one has ever talked about yet.
Okay, you go with your first 3 choices, and then I'll do my 3 choices.
Here we go. So if you're driving, pull over. If you're just walking around your house and got the headphones on, trying to ignore the kids, sit down because this one's a good one. Here we go. But before, it's me. I got to preface a little bit. I still am going to chide Carolina David Tepper. A lot of people don't realize that he was a partial owner of the Steelers before he sold and then bought the Chargers. But the shameful departure from Cam Newton. Now, of course, they can blame COVID-19 and, we couldn't do a parade and we couldn't buy a billboard and we couldn't do this. But, Cam got, just to give you this. So this shameful departure, no thank yous, no nothing. He got check this out. This is how crazy it is, Lou. He got a third-party tweet on the Panthers Twitter feed. So let me tell you how crazy it is. This is on the Carolina Panthers Twitter, and it says, breaking news, Panthers release Cam Newton. It's like, you're the Panthers Twitter. Why are you talking in the third person? Like they didn't even want to say, we cut him, we let him go. It's this awkward third-party tweet that was like the lamest thing ever. And in that time span, Teddy Bridgewater, I counted, had 8 tweets. He probably has more now. So this 8-1. So again, we talked about it at nausea, but he got nothing really. He got a generic 3-minute thank you video buried on the website, and a nice, a quote, at least a nice quote from the GM. But that was it.
And I'll agree with you on this front. This was a guy that was an NFL MVP for a season, and that's why it's definitely it's a little rude.
Well, not only that, but just he was – you got to think about this. Think of – you talk about face of the franchise and culture. Mm-hmm. Cam invented giving the balls to the little kids in the end zone.
Right.
That is so okay, think about that. He's not focused – and a lot of people, chide him for it's all about Cam. He talks about it. When we get down in the red zone, I'm already looking for the kids, who I could give a football to. That is amazing. Talk about wow, what a guy, right? And the stuff he's done for the community and all the other thing. Shame on the Carolina Panthers. All right, so now the number 1 spot that no one's talked about for Cam. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Hit it.
Is his couch. and here's why. This is the only place. This is the only landing spot that makes sense for Cam. Is his couch. Okay? Because the only thing that makes sense is for him to be come in as the hero, i.e. Superman, right? Come in as the hero during the regular season when a starting quarterback goes down or the newly drafted QB is underwater, and he comes in and saves the day. So here's why. So Brian Billick, classic coach, great quote, said it best. He says, the reason they hire you is the reason they fire you. So the reason everybody loves Cam is the reason nobody's picking him up other than shoulder surgery and foot stuff that there's question marks about. But here's the thing. Cam has moxie. Cam's got an attitude. He's a leader. He's a presence in the locker room. He's this big personality, a great leader of a team. And that's why nobody wants to bring him in the locker room. The best fit is for him to wait. If he signs up as a backup, this is twofold. Not only is it going to destroy the culture and the franchise that he signs with, Lou, it's going to destroy him. Okay?
The couch is, by the way, the couch is the best answer I have heard yet. I just want to make that clear. No matter what picks I have or whatever remaining picks you have, the couch is the number one answer and is a great choice. But keep going.
I'm still going. So a tiger can't change its stripes, right? So to take a Cam Newton, the leader, the guy, and have him say, well, Cam needs to change and he needs to take that backup mentality. That's the last thing I want to do to Cam Newton. Cam is a starter. Cam's a leader. There isn't a spot for him. So just go sit on your couch, fine tune. He's already putting out those videos, right? Like, hey, I'm healthy, I'm strong. Cam is the number one or nothing. So to get the maximum out of him. He's either leading it or he's not doing anything. So now here's an interesting dial down here. So a lot of people think, and then many experts agree, of course, that the Redskins may draft a quarterback just like the Cardinals did. Okay, going, 2 first rounds, 2 quarterbacks, back to back. Okay, Arizona traded away Josh Rosen, remember that name, picked up Kyle Murray. So now here's my question to you, Lou, as we end this Cam Newton thing. So this means on draft day, after draft day, or I'm sorry, not even after draft day, after they made the pick, right? After the second pick, the Washington Redskins choose. Okay, so if they draft a QB, that means Dwayne Haskins is available. So if you're a GM, would you rather have Cam Newton or Dwayne Haskins?
I reserve the right to give my answer when I give my 3, but in the specific answer to that question, comparing those two, I would take Haskins right now over Cam Newton. Based on what needs are across the NFL, that's where I would go. Now,
okay. Well, hold on. But let me just be fair because you asked, so I don't want to fully dodge the question, right?
Right.
I'm going to give you 5 teams that Cam could save and be the ultimate hero with an injury.
So just to clarify, so your number one answer is the couch.
Yes.
And now you're going to answer. So now you're going to go, that's your only answer. Okay, that's your top 3. He's going on the couch.
Yeah, he's going on the couch. But
now you're going to give your preference for which of the ones that he could save. Okay, I'm all ears. Go ahead.
With a quarterback injury, with a devastating quarterback injury. I'm talking even as late as like week 4, right? Week 1, week 2, whatever. Okay, so these are teams he could come and be the ultimate Superman and not destroy the culture, the franchise, whatever. It could be this 1-year Nick Foles kind of thing. You ready?
Yep.
First one, the New York Jets. Okay.
Yeah, that would be, and he would definitely be helpful. Okay.
Yep. Darnold's down. What do we do? Income. Can you imagine Cam in New York City? Cam on the Empire State Building, fighting the Goliath, fighting King Kong. I mean, come on, man.
It would be great press. It would be tough on him. But keep going. Yes.
Okay. Second one would be the Colts.
Okay. If you have
you know me? Come on,
if Rivers goes down, Rivers goes down, you bring in Cam. Okay,
bring in Cam and no one's going to be like, oh, what about Kobe? And I'm a Kobe Brissett fan, but he would be willing to step down. Cam could come in with the cape, dun dun dun, the whole Frank Reich, Bills, the whole thing, right? So that story stage is set incredibly.
Got it.
Okay, third one. Come on, we just talked about it. The Dallas Cowboys. What happens when Dak goes down? Jerry's got nobody.
Yeah, that would be the biggest story of the NFL season, and that trumps having Tom Brady play on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
And imagine if now here's where it even gets better. What if Jerry franchise tags Dak?
I think he is
hurt. I think he's going to sign. But what if he franchises him and everyone's like, Jerry, you're crazy. Okay. And we've heard that before, right? So he franchises him.
But by me at least 3 times. Okay. Yes.
He franchises him. He gets hurt. They bring in Cam and Cam leads them to the Super Bowl.
You are glass half full. But these are good. These are great examples. Keep rolling. So that was your third team. Yeah, Jets, the Colts, the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm. Now, as an owner, I have to preface that as a part owner, if Aaron Rodgers goes down, I would be totally comfortable bringing Cam in to save the day.
Going to the Packers. My goodness.
Yes. Cam in Green Bay, and it would work. It would work because everybody knows, hey, Aaron's still the guy, whatever, but Cam comes in, Superman, dun, dun, dun. Okay, Packers. Can you imagine Cam? I just can't imagine him in the uniform, but it could work.
I'm laughing. These are phenomenal. Okay. So that's four. Just to give that the Jets, the Colts, the Cowboys, the Packers, and your fifth franchise that he could save if the quarterback goes down is
the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, I could see that one. That actually out of those choices, that is a franchise I could see for a reason I'll get to when I go through my three. He'd look good in the black and red.
Yes, he would. And each of those franchises, that would be the story of the year, right? So it'd be a win-win for everybody.
I'm making it, well, I mean, if it was the Cowboys, it would be the biggest story,
of the century.
Of this current decade, it certainly would be the biggest story. That's excellent. I like that. So top choice across the board for where he's going to go is the couch, and then he could be picked up as a backup by those top five teams.
No, not backup.
Right. No. So not backup. As when the main quarterback goes down, who you pick up to come into the game. Gotcha.
Yep.
The Jets, the Colts, the Cowboys, the Packers, and the Falcons.
Yeah, wow. You are signing him to save the season. Plug and play. Bring in Cam, you be you, and save the team and lead us to the Super Bowl.
So I have two thoughts on your picks, which I'll put into two buckets: the couch pick and the filling in for the injured quarterback. One, I think it's quite brilliant. The couch pick, it's really excellent because of the fact that the teams I'm about to list from my three teams that I think are likely to pick him up. These options the options that you've presented or the potential for upside might be better. And I think it also might be a telling sign of what his real physicality is right now. Wanting to be, this is a guy that will not be a backup. This is a guy that, because of his ego and because of the way he plays, he wants to play. So I can totally see that filling in on those roles are pretty good. Now, if one of those five quarterbacks goes down, I think how they're doing and what their salary cap rules are and all that stuff, and how severe the injury is going to be a big factor in that. However, I'm going to put it on a low probability that happens. A real low probability.
I mean, the only team that really has a legit winning number two would be the Colts.
Yes.
So if anyone wouldn't do it, would be the Colts. But those other four, think about it. If you're in week 4, and even if you're in week 8, right? You saw Cam's videos. I mean, he's posting videos now. He's like, look at me. I'm healthy. I'm strong. I'm da-da-da-da-da.
This is a marketing job. And so here's where my head's at, where I am completely in the camp that whether it's his agent or him, and he's showing he's working out with all these other guys every day, this is a guy who is hungry to try to get a job.
Yeah.
I don't believe he's going to take his attitude and say, I'm just going to sit on the couch because I don't like the opportunities that are out there.
This is a perfect. Yeah. Also, just two second segue. Perfect idea of, right. Everyone's talking and everyone's squawking about, how's Tom going to get with his receivers? How are we going to do this? How we do this? Well, Cam's doing it.
Yeah.
It's COVID-19. Cam's got a whole team out there of people. It looks like
they're figuring it out. They have to be, 6 feet. We're 6 feet is 2 yards. That's easy in football.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So here are my 3 teams that I think are the most likely to be in this race to pick him up as a free agent. And I'm going to give reasons why for each one.
Okay.
Number 1 is the Miami Dolphins. So, and the reason I believe this has a little bit to do with why I do not believe he will ever be in Green Bay or New York for that matter. This is a guy that went to college in the state of Alabama at Auburn.
Yep.
played football in Carolina, the Mason-Dixon line might as well be the North Pole for guys like this. And that's why I thought the Atlanta Falcons was actually a perfect fit, same division that he'd remain in as the Carolina Panthers, which makes it pretty interesting. And I think warmer weather climates, we've talked about this in the past, you and I, some guys like the warmer weather. I think Miami fits very well for his personality. The only issue that I have is the Dolphins have been interesting. Look, Fitzpatrick, who came from Harvard and filled in, is this hard grinding guy, beat out whatever slot he needed there. This is a team that would be willing to put a guy like that in there. Now, I don't know how that coaching staff works as well, if that would be the best fit, but I know the Dolphins would be interested. This would be something they could not ignore to have a conversation. That's where I'm going on. If you think about that conference just lost Tom Brady, you've got the Bills. Everyone is thinking that the quarterback for the Bills might end up on the Chargers, which is why I don't have the Chargers in my list here. And everyone is coming up with ways that you think you can be the most effective in this conference. If you have a chance to make a statement, I think the Dolphins might do that. That's why they're my number one choice.
Okay. I could actually see that happening in real time, assuming, because here's my thing from a draft perspective. I think that Tua Tagovailoa. Say it real fast and it sounds like
Tua.
So Tua, although I can say Antetokounmpo, and I can say
that's pretty good. You did.
I can say I can say bye Jamie Miller, so I can do those. But Tua, I'm still working on. So Tua, I look at Tua and I would not draft him with a 10-foot pole. Not that I don't like his moxie and his skill set and everything else, but you look at all the injuries he's had in college. Okay, all these high ankle sprains, the hip. If you're getting injured in college, i.e. the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles, you're going to get injured in the pros. They're bigger and they're faster and they're stronger. So I don't think Tua is able to hold up physically. He may be healed from his hip, but what's the next thing? So if I'm the Miami Dolphins and we say, hey, we're all in on Tua, right? Who better to bring in to say, all right, Cam, this is your shot. 1 year, show us what you got. The Patriots are out. Let's make a run. Right? And if Cam starts fading, we're not sure on his shoulder, whatever, Cam melts down. All right, Tua, you're up. Get in there, kid. I think that could work.
So, Dolphins was my choice 1.
Okay. I see that happening. I really do.
2 and 3, I think, are real low probabilities, but I think they're good ones. 2 is a good one. 3 would be wow, that would be a great story. 2 for me is the Jacksonville Jaguars. This team needs to make some kind of statement somewhere. Another warm weather location, a situation where a guy like that would bring attention to them. I can see that happening. Their head coach is pretty awesome, actually, and pretty impressive with it. I can see it. I don't know if it's their top priority where things go, but I could absolutely see that after the Dolphins. So I put two warm weather teams here, Dolphins and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Interesting. I see the trend. On a side note for the Jaguars, I will go back in history and say, obviously it's 2020 vision in the rearview mirror, right? Hindsight's 2020, right? So I look at when Tebow left the Broncos. Man, if Tebow would have signed with Jacksonville back then,
it would have been a good 2-year run.
He would still be playing. I think he could have been the Cam Newton. There's a whole thing like, dude, why did you go to the Jets? So this could be the thing for Cam of like, okay, Jacksonville's wide open. So yeah, I think it's a higher probability than some may think.
Oh yeah, higher probability up there. It's the next one here that'll be pretty interesting. And it's not a warm weather place.
And it's not the Cowboys. Okay.
It's the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I've heard that one. Okay.
So now people have heard it, but I also thought of it for a different reason. I believe that the Mr. Roethlisberger, my least favorite human being on the planet, that's for a whole other podcast here. Ben Roethlisberger, as he has had some injuries and there's some questions there, I could see the way the Steelers played with the quarterback. What was the name of the quarterback they had at the second half of the season?
Oh, well, they had Duck, and then they had the other. Duck was third string. Second string was Rudolph.
Mason
Rudolph. Yeah.
Cam is a step up in attention, in the physical play of the Steelers, in size, in a big quarterback. Now, you'd be talking controversy right out of the gate, which is always kind of fun and something Pittsburgh doesn't really like to do. But I could see that was my third, like, hey, that would be cool. I have a way higher probability of these playing warm weather. I love your Atlanta choice, Dolphins, Jacksonville. But after going through all of it, if I'm his agent, and from what you said and the whole part about trying to stay healthy, if he's not 100% healthy as training camps open, I can see your couch option being the smarter one. If he's good and he's looking great and whatever, one of these teams is going to bite. And the team we left off the radar here, who's the number one favorite, everyone thinks he's going to go to, is the Redskins. And in our life leadership component of this program here, talk about an organization that I don't know if they're a headless chicken or a chicken that's just mindless. One of the two. That organization, the way they've been running, people would go bananas. The Redskin fans would go crazy. It would be big topics of conversation. That whole, well, it's right at the Mason-Dixon line, wherever you want to put DC. But I could see that being that just not working out for some reason. That even that conference, which the Cowboys should win, even though the Eagles won it last 2 years, I could see a situation that just would be like an epic fail, and everyone keeps saying that's where he's going to go. What do you think?
Here's the thing with the Redskins that, well, again, bringing Jerry back in.
Oh God, again.
Daniel Snyder is the closest thing to the Jerry Jones operating model. He just does it behind the scenes. He doesn't do it in front of the camera like Jerry does. He does it behind the scenes. But he's just, sure, they got Bruce Allen, the general manager, but Dan Snyder's the general manager. So that same model of like, you know what? The owner GM model doesn't work. It's proven that the coach GM model does, i.e. Bill Belichick, if you do it correctly. But the owner GM model, I don't think I'll have to go back in history and see. I have yet to see that work, and I have to do my research.
It very rarely works. Very, very, very rarely works in just about any sport. Even the Dodgers, way back when in the 50s, like recognized, the need for a general manager and someone to hire versus the owner. I'm just thinking franchise where the owner just stayed out of this stuff because they knew how to run the business of a team. They needed someone on the field to run it.
Yep. All right. So I have seen it. We have seen it in the old school, like George Halas, where you're owner, coach, GM. So if you got the coach aspect, it works. But I don't ever remember. I'll have to again go back and see a pure owner GM ever working. But that everyone all you have to do is look at Daniel Snyder and go, okay, well, that's why the Redskins are a mess. And again, same with the Cowboys. It's just like, why can't they get it together? Well,
so we're going to do this on the next show because it'll be a fun one to go through. We'll go through the NFL MVPs because I used to believe that if you were an MVP of a specific sport, you were a lock for the Hall of Fame. And I'd say, looking back in history, while it's mostly the case, this would be an interesting one between Cam Newton, the likes of like Rich Gannon, Sean Alexander's. These are guys that have won MVPs. And now in other sports, specifically because it's all one MVP for the whole league as opposed to for a conference or a division. In basketball, everyone makes the Basketball Hall of Fame, so that doesn't make a difference. But anyway. I digress. Okay.
Hold on. Let's put a bow. Let's put a bow on the Cam thing right here. So straight up, yes or no? Right now, never plays another down in the NFL. Is Cam Newton worthy of a gold jacket?
No.
Dramatic pause.
No, I had to look back at how many years we're talking about since that Super Bowl. Look, we were anointing him the next great quarterback in 2016 Super Bowl when all that happened, and then they got their ass handed to them. And there's been nothing since. So quarterbacks really have to show consistency of greatness, specifically quarterbacks in the NFL. And if you look at the laundry list of those that are not in the Hall of Fame, but have had unbelievable playing careers, whether through longevity or really top windows. I don't believe he fits into that mix. He had a 3 or 4 year window of wow. And I know that they have the college football. Remember, this is the Professional Football Hall of Fame, the NFL Hall of Fame. So it's not, carrying into what you did in college. If you carried in what you did into college all the way through a couple of years past his MVP year, yes, he absolutely would be in the Hall of Fame because of his unbelievable college career. But that's not how it works. So that's where I'm at.
Okay. Wanted to know. All right.
Good to know. All right. Let's continue. So we covered the cool trivia. We covered some of this timely topics, and we have a big topic here to talk around here because Evan had a really great point, and I think it'll be a fun conversation on our timeless topics. Timeless topics. I need to get musical.
Yes. Yeah, we need a little chime.
Timeless topics. Okay. Why do athletes make so much money?
And the answer is professional athletes make so much money because they fail publicly. Think about it, listeners. The highest paying jobs or highest status jobs, i.e. the President of the United States, are that way because the people that hold those positions fail publicly. And not only that, after they fail publicly, and you yell at the TV saying, and go, oh, what an idiot. Why do you throw that ball? Da, da, da. Then after the shower, before the shower, they get 500 microphones shoved in their face, and they have to relive it and say, why'd you make such a bonehead play? Why'd you throw that interception? Why'd you do this? From a life leadership perspective, here's the bomb I want to drop. The greatest sign, Lou, of maturity and personal growth is the willingness to take responsibility. And this is what I drive into my kids all day, every day. Taking responsibility. This is why, as sports fans, we have this love, this pride, this respect for anyone who fails and then, unlike him, steps up in the middle of it and takes full responsibility. Right? Says, hey, it was all me. I threw the bad pass, da-da-da. And then you see other players try to cover for him. Oh, I ran the round. It's like, no, it's all me. That's why you love, you see the quarterback when they're hitting their chest, right? Like the receiver runs around the ball. When the quarterback is like, it's me. It's all me. I did it. I blew it. We didn't win. And even the reporters try to bail him out. Well, you don't play defense. That doesn't matter. I didn't do a good enough job. And so we love it when athletes take responsibility. But that's why they make the money they do, because they fail publicly. And I mentioned the president position because one of my favorite stories is from Colin Powell. And at this time, Colin Powell held a position with Ronald Reagan as president. And there was this whole, you're the historian, so you may remember this. There was kind of like the Iran hostage thing going on.
Okay.
And Reagan was totally against what everybody wanted to do. They said, okay, we're going to go in, we're going to get them, we're going to get them out. We got to show strength, da-da-da. And Reagan, being the classic statesman, was like, guys, that's a bad idea. This could go bad. We'll get mud on our face. This is not the time, da-da-da-da-da. And this is like early in his term. And Reagan was against it, but everybody talked him into it. And Reagan said, all right, I'm against it, but, go ahead and do it. And so they went in and did it, and it was the total disaster, right? Everybody wanted to impeach Reagan. They're like, Reagan, you're such an idiot. Why'd you do this? Da-da-da-da-da. Now, Reagan steps up to the mic, and you know what he said? And some people remember this quote. He says, America, I failed you, but I'll tell you, I made a mistake. He goes, but I tell you this, I won't make the same mistake twice. He said, this old dog won't make the same mistake twice. And all of a sudden, everybody fell in love with him. And what was so great about Colin Powell is, now this is the 80s when it wasn't allowed. Colin Powell said he literally wept when Reagan gave that press conference because Colin knew it was his idea and all his guys wanted to do it. And here's Reagan taking it on the chin of Colin Powell's idea. And he said, after he broke down crying and collected himself, he said, I will follow that man anywhere and I will do anything for him because he was willing to take the responsibility. So that is why the NFL athletes make so much money.
Okay, and this is really interesting about the fail publicly because I'm gonna share something that you're not gonna believe where this is gonna go because it's only because we're here in coronavirus time watching a lot of interesting things on Netflix. And Evan, I talk about failing publicly. I think it does two things. That one, these people are willing to put themselves on the line. We all know how much money they make. It's public. Everyone can see the salaries. They literally have to publish, what their salary is for the salary cap numbers. Everyone knows what these guys make, and they use that as a barometer to help them get more money, because the more public it is, everyone can compare and say how much this guy's worth, how much the quarterback worth. And that's why quarterbacks are making $30 million a year. And now we won't also drop the fact that they're taking a physical beating. There's a short window of time that these guys can succeed, and it could all go away tomorrow, as you and I have chatted about in the past. Just it's one quick injury, it's over. There's something else interesting, though. You talked about the failing publicly and the ability that we look at those that admit blame and take the responsibility and then move forward from that. Now, that is a little different than us saying we're going to write the big check to them. Mm. But I'm going to talk about something that you can't believe it's going to go here, because I watched it and the documentary was so good and so compelling. And you're going to laugh when you hear it's about. I watched a documentary on Taylor Swift.
Okay.
Have you seen it? It's called Americana. Have you seen the show?
No, but I have seen, you know what? I'll give you two that I have, which is hilarious. I saw the Justin Bieber one, and I saw the Katy Perry one, and they were spectacular as far as a life and leadership. So I can imagine Taylor Swift being good.
So for those listening that would never have known this is where this is going, Taylor Swift is one of the most successful musicians of our time right now. Now, I know there's some other ones, and the amount of money she makes when she goes on tour, and
she made $183 million last year. I know that.
This is, and there's a reason that she's so successful. And they harped on one of the biggest parts of her life, if you do remember, was when she was 19, she won at the MTV Music Awards the Video of the Year. And Kanye West did that crazy thing. If you remember the specifics, he got up on stage, he bashed. He didn't really bash her. He basically made a comment to those making the votes that the person who should have won was Beyonce, for Beyonce's, put a finger on it or whatever, put a ring on it, whatever the name of the song was. Okay. and he literally put this 19-year-old in shock. He did the most obnoxious, rude thing. And Obama called him like a punk, and he was awful for doing what he did. But what was really interesting in the documentary was Taylor Swift performed for the cheers, performed for the smiles, performed for the happiness. It was that drove her, making other people happy, performing so that hoping not to let those people down, or more notably, putting yourself in the light to not fail, to succeed. And people would pay to watch her perform and see her do her songs and go to her concerts and buy her music. And at this moment, by the way, this changed her life, because she had never had any real interruption. She was only 19 at that point. And this thing shocked her, because she talked about that when she was on the stage, the crowd was booing her. But they weren't booing her. They were booing Kanye. But to her, who was in shock at this whole thing, thought that they were booing her. And her reactions were unbelievable. Now, here's the crazy part. There's jokes that Kanye says, he made that biatch famous. I'm using the lines. It's one of his line songs. He made that bitch Taylor famous, whatever, which is not true. She's, if you watch the documentary, here's the things you appreciate. She's unbelievably talented. She's an incredible songwriter. You can watch her write the songs on the show. It's fascinating. And she's a heck of a performer. It's not easy to put all these things together. And she puts herself in front of everybody, in front of hundreds of millions of fans all the time. I think she's got one of the biggest Twitter accounts out there. And she is one of the highest paid performers out there because of this. She is famous, talented, and she puts herself, because she takes risks. She has to constantly reinvent herself. This is why I don't think there's that much of a difference between the top athletes and the top performers, because when they mess up and they fail and they fall out of fame, or they fall off, or they write a bad album, or they have a bad season and they fall off that plate, the drop is precipitous, and you may never come back like him or whatever. Yeah. So I look at it this way. I think athletes and top performers make so much money, obviously from the supply and demand, and they're willing to let everybody see what the hell they do, right? And I think it's great because it's not that they put themselves on the line to fail. The ones who make the most are the ones who overcome those failures and win again. And that's what we get behind them, just as you gave that example. And I can't even begin to give you the path that Taylor Swift has been on ever since the last 10 years. That's from her 19 to she's now 29, 30 years old. And what she's done is unprecedented. And she continues to push the level because she wants to keep pushing. She doesn't want to fail the people that are behind her. She wants to put those things on the line. So I know this is one of the strangest diversions you ever would have thought on this program, but I think that it's not only facing the failure, it's stepping through it and overcoming it and continuing to push the bar moving onward and upward. And that's why we'd be willing to pay so much money for that.
Yes!
Mic drop, ladies and gentlemen.
Booyah!
Yeah. So I can't believe, by the way, I watched the whole Taylor Swift thing.
No, I'm telling you, you should go on a deep dive. The Justin Bieber one. And
I heard the Jonas Brother one was excellent too. The good stories. Those guys are interesting. And I like, this is a funny thing. Like people talk about the fame and I don't understand Kardashian, like people who are famous, but we don't know why they're famous. I like people who are famous and talented. I like talent. Yeah. I love the thing about Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson is those are two players that we're seeing a level of talent that we've never seen before. When we watch Aaron Rodgers throw a football, you're like, you got to be kidding me. Like you can't believe anyone could perfectly place a ball in so well under such duress and such, 2 minutes left.
And yet with all those, right, you've only got 2 Super Bowls and all the combined years those guys have played. Now, granted, the other 2 guys are younger, but it's not that. That's why I love football. Yeah. Because the most talented players don't win Super Bowls. It's
most talented teams. It's the most talented teams with the best leadership.
Yeah, or you don't even have to have the best talented teams. I mean, if you go and look right now, sometimes it's that way, but other times, I hearken back to the class. I mean, the formula. There's no secret formula to winning a Super Bowl in the NFL. Vince Lombardi put the blueprint down in the '60s, and he did the same way that the coach. Maybe you'll probably know because you're the historian. That same blueprint is what
Lou Diamond, historian.
Yes, historian. There it is. It's a new one. But you remember Miracle on Ice, the 1980 Olympic team.
Yes,
Herb Brooks. Yes. So same blueprint, right? Was his whole thing. Both of them were like, and Vince said it. He put the blue. It's no secret. He said the secret to winning in the NFL is you have to get the other players to love each other. Because if they don't love each other, they're not going to put that extra inch of effort in to make that block. Because if it's just like, oh, I'm doing it because I'm getting paid, or oh, yeah, it's my assignment. It's like, that doesn't win Super Bowls. If they actually love each other, they will do it. And that's why people say, God, Vince Lombardi was a jerk of a coach. Of course, because just like Herb Brooks was a jerk, he had to make the players hate him so they could love each other. And so that's why you kind of get this whole like, man, why is Belichick like that? And Belichick gets in his little mantra, all the things, just, it's like that whole mindset of like, Bill's the villain, so I can love my teammates. And look, we win Super Bowls. Imagine that.
I do look forward to 1 year. You're going to get a matchup of, I guess, the troubled team that gets all the way there and is playing against the best, the team that seems to be the most cohesive. Mm-hmm. And there have been years where the trouble team does win because they have so much talent.
Yeah. Well, no, like the 2000 Ravens. I mean, that was not the team with the most talent. They had good defense, but it was a mentality. It wasn't necessarily a talent thing. And on offense, they couldn't. Well, they didn't score a touchdown for 4 weeks, right?
I think the name of that team. I remembered. That was the last year I may have played like fantasy football. And I think the name of one of my colleagues' teams, because he had a lot of Ravens on it, was called the Convicted Felons. So either you can steal a title or you can, put together and sacrifice wins. But I got to give you credit, though. The athletes playing money, look, and we're out a window right now, March 30th, 2020. There's no sports on. And we're craving it. We're craving something to watch. I shared with you on the last show, people wanted to watch a NASCAR race. They just can't wait to just watch cars make left turns. Anything to keep our competitive juices flowing and to see the great performers put themselves on the line to potentially fail.
Yes.
That's what we want to see.
Yes. And let me segue into what you said was really interesting, because you talked about which I didn't, again, that's why I love Lou Diamond, because he's so amazing. But you talked about the public money side,
yes.
And how the money is public. Hey, that's what this dude's making. Hey, that's what this guy's making. It's a public money. So I want to dive in real quick as the final timeless is why the NFL has such bogus contracts and bogus, misleading money terms, whereas baseball, basketball, and I'm not 100% on hockey, but in baseball and basketball, what they show is what they actually make. But in football, it is like the game of the 3-card Monty. It's like moving it around. For example, I'll give a perfect example. We talk about, the Patriot and all that's a Patriot way, right? So Kyle Van Noy, right? Patriots picked up from another team. Again, Belichick realized, hey, I can do a lot with this guy, getting him on a good deal. So Kyle Van Noy just signed with the Dolphins, okay? A 4-year, $51 million guaranteed, or 4-year, $51 million. So you see that on the ticker, right? And you go, wow, Kyle Van Noy got 4 years, $51 million. Man, well, I wish I had $51 million, right? What could I do with $51 million? Okay, well, let's dig a little deeper. So on other tickers, it'll say, Van Noy signs 4 years, $51 million, in parentheses, $30 million guaranteed.
Right.
So what that really means is Kyle Van Noy signed a $30 million contract. I don't know what $51 million means, but then it gets better. It gets better, though. This is part 2. So now people realize, $30 million guaranteed. Okay, so he got $30 million. Oh, man, what could I do with $30 million? Okay, what people don't realize is that is not a fully guaranteed contract. It is a injury contract, okay? So that means he's only guaranteed $30 million if there's an injury. So what he really signed, which most people haven't figured out, what he really signed was a 1-year, $15 million deal. He gets a $12 million signing bonus. Now, you can't live on that, but it's a good start, right, Lou? He gets a $12 million signing bonus. He gets $3 million in salary for 2020. That is the only money that the Dolphins have to give him. Because come 2020, if he's healthy, they can cut him and they don't lose anything. So my question to you, Lou, is why does the NFL play this shell game? Why don't they just say Kyle Van Noy signed a 1-year, $15 million? Why do they inflate these back numbers? Like, he signed a $500 million contract, $5 million guaranteed. I mean, why do they do that?
Part of the real answer from me is I don't know. And I don't know how the union has enabled this to go on for as long as it has, considering, and by the way, the NHL does have guaranteed contracts. So you have 3 of the other North American sport leagues have guaranteed contracts. Baseball being the most ridiculous, where they tell you the number and it's guaranteed whether you step on the field or not, or you have to show up the minute that thing's signed. It's like, congratulations, you won the lottery. Okay. All that being said, a lot of it is supply and demand, and that the NFL, as the richest of the 4 major leagues, has a little bit more playing power. And we've hinted to this in other episodes. We're definitely getting on this the next time. Where we talk about the premiership in soccer and professional soccer, how what those numbers are. And when they have a player and you hear these transfer fees, they paid $200 million to get that player. But meanwhile, not all that money went to the player.
Of course, yeah.
There's some real numbers that are real, and the NFL seems to have these very confusing marketing numbers. One is, I think, on both ends, for the players and for the league, these higher numbers tend to get more attention, and because they're so big, that it makes it, continues the richness of it. But the real reason is that the league the owners have been basically been running this show way better than the players and the unions have, which is so surprising considering there's 53 players on an NFL team?
Mm-hmm. 55 now.
55 now, right? So with that, I just think that the ability I would rather, like you, see he got guaranteed $5 million with these options on the upside to go up. Yeah. I would rather hear it that way than to cumulatively do it. But I think there's also a simplicity to it in the way they market it. It's good marketing for client 1, 2, and 3 from the agents to come out and say, hey, it's a $500 million contract, but meanwhile, only $5 million is guaranteed, because they want to be able to have these numbers. And yeah, they want to dig through and say, well, what does that really mean? Or what is the real number? Or how much is that getting? Because remember, the agents are the ones who are trying to market the business side here and get their players more money. And those longer term deals at least become contract negotiations. And there's an important part here. The rules each season for this salary cap that each one of these teams have is very complicated. So they only guarantee that first amount of that year, and then each year they have to rejigger. I mean, have you ever seen a sport that has restructured contracts more than the NFL? Nobody in the world, because if they sign a guy in a 1-year, 2-year deal and it comes out really great and he's the next best thing, they want to lock him up even more because they want to make sure that they can keep him in certain positions. And in a certain window, they do this. And this is why these players are incented to almost get out into free agency and do it in that contract year. It probably works best for the owners the way this structure is set up. Just imagine, by the way, if a big offensive lineman, for a quick second, signs a $50 million contract and it's all guaranteed right after his first year of playing. Maybe he gets a little tired, a little lazy, doesn't give as much, and maybe he doesn't even earn his job in his starting lineup there, and then they can go get somebody else to do it. There's some still work hard, play hard incentive that the owners definitely like in the structure. This is all guessing and from what we've heard over the years. I'm with you. I'd rather hear the upside optionality than the way that they downsize what the real number is.
Yeah. And I think the NFL is the only league, right, where you hear the term cap magic. Like, okay, we're gonna. And here's what my CPA taught me, and I'm big on integrity, but again with the IRS and all the stuff and da da da. He says, okay, let's massage the number. Let's massage these cap numbers. And what if we did this and called it a this? And to give Jerry credit, again, we got to mention Jerry. What he did, his cap magic that he did with Dion when they signed Dion was the only way to put it in the cap, because his son was still learning the cap. And they almost went to fisticuffs over this. There's these great stories about, how Jerry's even undermining his own kids, right? Because he's Jerry, right? So he signs Dion, doesn't even tell his son who's in charge of the cap, right? And he did it all with a signing bonus, because back then the signing bonus didn't count as the cap. So he just he gave it all as a signing bonus. And then he went to the team and wrote the number to the team and said, this is what we're paying Dion. Do you want him or not? And everybody's like, yeah, we want him. But so cap magic, you never hear that in the NBA. You never hear it in baseball. It's just like, yep, Steinbrenner wanted so-and-so, so we paid him. It's like, oh, okay.
I'll finish my point on all this regarding, the bonuses and the awards. There's reasons why these professional clubs are privately owned. I know the exception of the rule with the Packers, but it's not really public as much as everybody thinks. There is a private process to understanding what the numbers are behind the scenes. Trust me, Major League Baseball owners will never open the books and let people know what they make and how much money they're really making from all of the ticket sales and all this stuff. But even though the unions are fighting to get that every single day, because the owners, they're the biggest owners, the most successful businessmen, icons of our country. And, I guess we don't have any Canadian teams in the NFL, but we're probably not too far away.
Yeah, coming soon.
And that's part of the reason. They still have that clout and power to demand these certain things. And if not, tough. Hey, you don't want to play in here, we're the only place to play.
Yep.
This has been fun. I like these topics. Trivia, timely topics, timeless topics, and Evan Money to provide incredible wisdom along the way. Wasn't this fun?
Indeed
it was. Well, with that, we've either bored our listeners to death, the 5 of them that are listening right now, and excited, man, to continue the conversations. And remember, keep moving onward and upward.
And life is tremendous.
You've been listening to Diamond Cuts Money Talks with Lou Diamond and Evan Money. Download, subscribe, and listen wherever you get your podcasts. And share this episode with your friends in the Good Pods app. Thanks for listening.